Have you ever walked into a movie theater and felt like you've seen it all before? Well, in 2024, that feeling was more real than ever. It was a year where Hollywood truly doubled down on what it knows best: sequels and big sprawling franchises. Think about it, 9 out of the top 10 biggest movies around the world were continuations of stories we already love. This is such a big shift from just the year before when we were all talking about fresh original hits like Barbie and Oppenheimer. It seems like the big studios decided that playing it safe was the best way to get people back into those comfy cinema seats. This whole trend really shows what the movie business is all about right now. It's about building worlds that can go on, creating characters that can have adventure after adventure. This strategy makes a lot of sense from a business perspective. Studios know that if you love the first movie, you're probably going to show up for the second, third, or even fourth one. It's a built-in audience, a promise of a certain kind of fun. That's why we saw so many familiar faces and worlds on the big screen, from animated sequels to superhero team-ups that have been years in the making. The overall box office numbers tell a really interesting story too. Even with all these huge familiar movies, the total amount of money earned was actually down a bit from 2023, and it's still way below where things were before the pandemic and the big Hollywood strikes. This suggests that even though sequels are a reliable bet, they might not be enough to get the entire movie industry back to its glory days. It's like we're all happy to see our old friends, but maybe we're also craving something a little new and unexpected to really get us excited about going to the movies again. So, while the comfort of a sequel is wonderful, this heavy focus on franchises creates a very specific kind of Hollywood. It becomes a place where the biggest and most powerful stories are the ones that have already been told. This reliance on the past shapes everything, from what gets made to who gets to be a star. It's a cycle that rewards familiarity over risk, and that has huge effects across the entire industry. It really makes you wonder if this is a sustainable path forward or just a temporary solution to a much bigger challenge facing the magic of movie making. When you look at which studios were really winning in 2024, a few familiar names pop right to the top. Disney had an incredible comeback year, becoming the only studio to have more than one movie make over $1 billion. Wow! Hits like Inside Out 2 and Deadpool and Wolverine showed they still have the magic touch. Then you have Universal, which stayed right up there with Disney, especially with its amazing animated movies. Despicable Me 4 and Kung Fu Panda 4 proved that Universal is a true powerhouse in family entertainment, something they have been so good at for so long. These major studios, including Warner Brothers, which had big successes with Dune Part 2 and Godzilla x Kong, have a system that works. They own huge, beloved properties and know exactly how to market them to a global audience. They can spend hundreds of millions on a movie because they are pretty confident they'll make it back. But even they had some stumbles. Warner Brothers saw some of its big sequels, like Furiosa, not do as well as hoped. This just goes to show that even for the giants of the industry, there's no such thing as a guaranteed hit, which is a little scary for them, I bet. Now let's talk about the smaller studios and the big tech companies that have joined the movie game like Apple and Amazon. It was a much tougher year for them. Lionsgate, for example, had a really disappointing run with several movies that just didn't connect with audiences at the box office. And even with all the money in the world, the tech giants found it hard to make theatrical hits. Apple's star-studded spy movie Argylle was a major flop, and Amazon's big holiday film Red One also lost a lot of money. It proves that just spending a lot doesn't mean you'll have a blockbuster. This difference between the major studios and everyone else is so important. The big guys have decades of experience, massive marketing machines, and libraries full of characters we know and love. The newer players and smaller companies are trying to build that from scratch, and it is so hard. They have to take bigger risks on original ideas to get noticed, but those risks don't always pay off at the box office. This creates a really challenging environment where it's difficult for new, independent voices to break through and find the same level of success as the established giants. For actors, this franchise-first world changes everything. The path to a successful career in Hollywood looks a lot different now than it did even 10 years ago. Getting a part in a huge, established franchise has become the ultimate goal for so many. It can mean job security for years to come, which is something every actor dreams of. Being part of a superhero universe or a beloved animated series can turn an actor into a household name overnight. But this also means that opportunities are getting more and more tied to these few, massive cinematic worlds, which can be really limiting. This intense focus on franchises means there are fewer original medium-budget movies being made by the big studios. You know, the kind of dramas or romantic comedies that used to be a launching pad for so many incredible careers. Those movies gave actors a chance to show their range and play all sorts of different characters. Now it seems like the best way to get noticed is to land a role as a superhero, a villain, or a character in a fantasy world. It puts a lot of pressure on actors to fit into a certain kind of blockbuster mold, which isn't what every artist wants. What's also super interesting is that being a huge movie star doesn't guarantee a hit anymore. We saw that happen in 2024 with movies like Argylle and Red One, which were packed with famous faces but still didn't do well at the box office. This tells us that today, the franchise itself is often a bigger star than the actors in it. Audiences are showing up for the characters and the world they already love, not necessarily for a specific actor. This is a huge shift in power and changes the kind of leverage an actor has in the industry. So, this environment creates a real dilemma. On one hand, joining a franchise can offer incredible opportunities and global fame. But on the other, it can narrow the types of roles available and make it harder for actors to build a career based on diverse, character-driven work outside of those big universes. It forces actors to make tough choices about their careers and what kind of stories they want to be a part of. The landscape is changing so fast, and everyone is just trying to figure out how to navigate it while staying true to their craft. Beyond the business of sequels, something else really concerning happened in 2024. There was a noticeable step back in LGBTQ+ representation in movies. For the second year in a row, the number of films from major studios that included LGBTQ characters actually went down. This is happening at a time when you'd think we would be moving forward, not backward. After years of progress, seeing these numbers decline is really disheartening. It feels like some of the doors that were slowly opening are starting to close again, and that's a loss for everyone who loves film. This trend was especially obvious in family and animated movies. The number of LGBTQ-inclusive family films dropped sharply, from 8 in 2022 to only 2 in 2024. This is so important because movies are one of the first places where young people see the world and learn about different kinds of people and families. When these stories are missing, it sends a message that some people and some families don't belong on the big screen. It's a retreat from inclusivity at a time when so many young people, especially in Gen Z, are part of the LGBTQ+ community, and are looking for stories that reflect their lives. This pullback seems to be happening because of social and political pressure. Some companies appear to be getting nervous about backlash from anti-diversity campaigns. We even saw some major studios scale back their public support during Pride Month. It's a complicated situation where corporations are weighing financial risks against their commitment to diversity. But GLAAD has warned that this could backfire. By avoiding LGBTQ+ stories, studios risk alienating a huge and loyal part of their audience who want to see themselves and their values represented on screen. It's a choice that could hurt them in the long run. All of this leaves us with a really big question. In this world dominated by franchises and cautious business decisions, where is the space for risk, for originality, and for true diversity? Should Hollywood keep playing it safe, sticking to the formulas that seem to work, or does it have a bigger responsibility? A responsibility to push boundaries, to tell new and different kinds of stories, and to give more chances to a wider range of voices and actors. Movies have the power to change how we see the world and each other, and I just have to hope that Hollywood remembers that magic.